Thank you, President Officer. John Swinney yesterday launched yet another taxpayer-funded paper on independence, and he's called it a fresh start.
Let's hear Mr Findlay. Let's hear Mr Findlay.
They won't be clapping in a minute. The same John Swinney has dreamed about breaking up the United Kingdom for almost 50 years. He was at the forefront of the Free by 93 campaign. He first became leader of the SNP at the turn of the millennium. In 2014, he played a crucial role in the losing Yes campaign. Thank you, John. And last year, he became SNP leader again. And he really thinks it's plausible to describe his latest independence paper as a fresh start. Is John Swinney having a laugh?
Full names at all times, please. First Minister.
President Officer, before I respond to Mr Findlay, I want to take a moment to welcome the news that Israel and Hamas have agreed the first phase of a peace plan for Gaza. I call on all sides to abide by the terms of the agreement, the release of all hostages and the immediate entry of humanitarian aid into Gaza. After more than 2 years of devastating brutality and loss of life, I know that this will be a moment of relief for many here in Scotland and around the world. I reiterate my call that Palestinians and Israelis must be able to live safely, side by side, based on a two-state solution, and I dearly hope this is the first step towards that outcome, and I express my thanks to all of the mediators who have worked so hard to create this moment and this opportunity for peace. In relation to Mr Findlay's substantive question, I am deadly serious about the arguments for Scottish independence. As a country, we have exercised self-government since 1999 with the establishment of this Parliament, and a number of significant benefits have been achieved for the people of Scotland, some delivered by the previous government, such as the ban on smoking in public places or the introduction of free personal care. Some of them delivered by my government, whether that is about the abolition of tuition fees or minimum unit pricing of alcohol or the introduction of the Scottish Child Payment. But we are at a moment now in Scotland where the rightward drift of the United Kingdom and the stagnation of living standards in our country demonstrate a re-examine of this argument, and that is why independence is the fresh start that Scotland needs.
Russell Findlay.
I think the fact he says he's deadly serious is actually even more worrying than if he was just having a laugh. John Swinney can't offer a fresh start because he's been in the SNP government for almost 20 years. He was Nicola Sturgeon and Alex Salmond's right-hand man, up to his neck in every SNP scandal: ferries, gender self-ID, SQA exams, named persons and many more. He ran down Scotland's economy, and then he ran down Scotland's education system. And a new survey shows that public trust in the Scottish Government is at an all-time low. And this was a Scottish Government survey. So does John Swinney accept that this is a damning judgment on his dismal record?
First Minister.
What my government is focused on is improving the lives of people in Scotland. That's why we are keeping prescriptions free in Scotland, while they are nearly £10 under Labour in England. It's why we are protecting free tuition in Scotland, while they are rising south of the border. It's why we have expanded early learning and childcare. It's why we have extended free school meals. It's why we have introduced the Scottish Child Payment. It's why we abolished peak rail fares on our railways for good, because we are interested in providing practical support to improve the lives of people in Scotland, and we will continue to do so. I noticed in the survey that Mr Findlay is talking about that there is also a question on independence. It indicates that support for independence is at 47%, up from 27% in 1999. I can see the direction of travel in Scotland, and it's going to independence.
Russell Findlay.
Nicola Sturgeon's book should be in the fiction section, but John Swinney's paper really should be in the fantasy section. And it's not just harmless fantasy, Presiding Officer, but actually dangerous dishonesty. Because this graph here says that Scotland's GDP has grown faster than the rest of the UK, when the opposite is true. Serious and credible experts have demolished this 90-page exercise in wishful thinking. Leading economist Professor Ronald MacDonald said John Swinney's plans are, I quote, totally shambolic and would have a, again quoting, devastating effect.
That's the reality.
He expressed astonishment at the quote, again quote, total ignorance of the SNP's currency position. Damningly, he said all of this will impact on public sector wages, pensions, mortgages, borrowing costs for homes and
Let's hear
businesses.
Mr Findlay.
This is a paper with no solutions. It does nothing to help people's lives here and now. It's an outrage that it was produced by Scottish civil servants. So will John Swinney stop wasting any more taxpayers' money on such nonsense?
First Minister.
Presiding Officer, under the SNP government, GDP per person in Scotland has grown by 10.3% compared to 6.1% in the UK, while productivity has grown at an average rate of 1.1% per year in Scotland compared to the UK average of 0.4%. So that demonstrates that the point that Mr Findlay has put to Parliament is
hear the First Minister.
Is not correct. Now, the issue that Mr Findlay has got to address is that the arguments that he puts forward to preserve the status quo are now completely and utterly threadbare. Labour and Tory politicians said that staying in the United Kingdom would lower our bills, but the opposite has been the case. They promised financial security, but gave us the Liz Truss mini-budget. They assured us that voting no was the surest way for Scotland to remain in the European Union, but Scotland has been taken out against our will. The arguments against Scottish independence have collapsed since 2014, and Scotland is on a pathway to independence.
Russell Findlay.
John Swinney's graph on GDP is wrong, just like his stats last week on income tax were wrong. And if he ever got his way, it would mean extreme tax rises and severe spending cuts for Scotland. Mortgages up, pensions at risk and a hard border with England. Scotland would be divided, smaller and weaker. And despite all of this, John Swinney keeps obsessing about independence, which would make Scots poorer. No wonder public trust in the SNP is at an all-time low. John Swinney is not a fresh start. This man is not a fresh start. He's a tired nationalist with a dismal record. He's not focused on building a strong economy for the future. He's wasting time and taxpayers' money on the same old arguments of the past. So for the sake of Scotland, is he ever going to give up on his independence obsession and move on?
First Minister.
I think it's pretty clear, I think, to any member of the public watching this exchange, that the more Russell Findlay gets personally insulting to his political rivals, the weaker
Let's all hear one another.
The weaker his arguments become. Because what I've marshalled in front of Parliament today is the evidence. Living standards are stagnating in Scotland, and they have stagnated for 15 years.
First Minister, sorry, it's becoming increasingly difficult to hear one another. If members haven't been called to speak, please resist the temptation to do so. Those gathered in the gallery, I am sure, would wish to hear contributions. First Minister.
Presiding Officer, living standards in Scotland as part of the United Kingdom have ground to a halt. Brexit has been a disaster. The implications of the Liz Truss mini-budget have wreaked economic difficulty and havoc on the people of the United Kingdom, and Scotland has been saddled with that despite the promises of lower prices, lower bills and access to the European Union from the No campaign in 2014. I am very proud to lead a campaign which is about focusing on improving living standards in Scotland, transforming the lives of people in Scotland, and will do that through independence.
Question number 2.